I need that limited edition handbag. Something inside me snapped. Maybe it was the couple of happy hour beers talking, but my brain just short-circuited. I stormed over to her, pointing an accusatory finger. You ungrateful child. So young and already obsessed with brands? And is that any way to talk to your father? Did you finish your homework? What was your ranking on the last midterm? The girl, still holding the phone to her ear, just stared at me, completely dumbfounded. A second later, I whipped out my phone. Snap! A perfect photo of her shocked, beautiful face. I fired it off to my group chat. Me. Leo, guys, my brain just broke. I found a wild, spoiled brat on the street. Leo. Bro, she's young enough to be your daughter, and she's driving a Cullinan? What is this parenting? The chat was silent for 3 whole seconds. Then it exploded. Mark, class president. Elio, are you insane? That's Vivian Sterling, the most popular girl on campus. Chadwick Jr. Dude, that car belongs to her dad, Robert Sterling, the richest man in California. Sarah, academic rep. It's already all over the campus FizFee feed. Her dad is offering a $10,000 reward for the identity of the concerned citizen who lectured his daughter. Me? That sobered me up real quick. Was it too late to fake amnesia? Obviously, yes. Just as I was about to bolt, a black Mercedes S-Class glided silently to the curb next to me. A chauffeur in a crisp suit and white gloves stepped out. He bowed respectfully. Mr. Evans, Mr. Sterling would like to see you. He wishes to thank you personally for the education you provided his daughter. My knees went weak. Sir, this is a misunderstanding. A complete misunderstanding. I'd had a few drinks. I thought she was someone else. The driver smiled politely. Chillingly politely, Mr. Sterling insisted. He said he would not be denied the pleasure. Please. 10 minutes later, I was sitting in a private room at an ultra-exclusive downtown club. Seated on a plush leather sofa was Robert Sterling himself. Middle-aged, imposing but with a surprisingly warm smile. Next to him, cheeks puffed out in anger, was Vivian Sterling. Robert Sterling sized me up, a grin tugging at his lips. Young man, you've got some nerve. You're the first person to ever talk to my daughter like that. My blood ran cold. Mr. Sterling, sir, I'm so sorry. I was drunk. I was just spouting nonsense. Vivian stomped her foot. Dad, look at him. He's just some drunk. Make him apologize to me. But her father waved a dismissive hand, his eyes never leaving me. No need to rush the apology. I'm more interested in what was going through your head at the time. I forced myself to speak. I feel that young people shouldn't be so extravagant. They should learn the value of hard work and humility. Robert Sterling burst out laughing. Well said. It's not often you find a young person today with the guts to speak the truth. Me? Vivian. Dad. But Robert Sterling didn't scold me. He didn't have me beaten up. Instead, he made a proposal that completely floored me. Leo, you seem like a man of principle. Vivian has been spoiled rotten by her mother. She desperately needs someone to keep her in line. So from now on, you'll be responsible for supervising her. You will review her monthly allowance requests. Any unnecessary luxury purchases vetoed immediately. As for salary, how does $10,000 a month sound? My eyes lit up. Was this real? Still, I had to play it cool. Mr. Sterling, I don't think that's appropriate. Vivian shrieked, I do not agree to this. Dad, you're going to let this nobody control my life? Her father's eyes narrowed. It's settled. Leo, I want you to show her that same fire you had on the street. And just like that, I, an ordinary, recently graduated guy drowning in student debt, became the financial watchdog for a billionaire's daughter. The very next day, I started my new job. Vivian wanted to buy a $20,000 limited edition handbag. I sent the request back. Status, denied reason, impractical and inappropriate for your status as a student. Suggest purchasing a canvas tote bag for durability and value. Vivian, absolutely livid, called me screaming, Leo Evans, are you doing this just to spite me? I replied calmly. Miss Sterling, please be mindful of your tone when addressing your watchdog. Otherwise, I may have to deny next week's Frappuccino budget as well. Vivian was fuming. She brought in her friends for backup. Brittany, a blonde in a designer tracksuit, sneered, "Well, well, look what we have here. Who's this broke loser who thinks he's a big shot?" I opened my ledger. "Ms. Miller, my records show you borrowed $3,000 from Miss Sterling last week for concert tickets with a promise to repay in 3 days. That payment is now overdue. Would you prefer to settle this via Venmo or should I contact your father?" Brittany's face went pale. She shut her mouth. Tiffany, another friend, chimed in sarcastically, "It's Vivian's family money. What right do you have to control it?" I smiled sweetly. "My authority, as granted by Mr. Sterling, includes flagging friends who may be a negative influence on Miss Sterling. Would you like me to call him right now and explain the situation?" Tiffany's face flipped instantly. "Oh my God, I was just kidding. Lighten up." Vivian looked like she was about to faint from sheer rage. The billionaire was thrilled with my performance. With a single phone call, he upgraded my position from watchdog to full-time lifestyle manager. I wasn't just in charge of her spending anymore. I now managed her studies, her schedule, and made sure she didn't date the wrong kind of guy. Vivian completely lost it. But her father gave me the nuclear option. If she doesn't cooperate, cancel her supplementary credit card. She seethed with fury, but she had no choice but to surrender. The next morning, I rang the Sterling Mansion's doorbell at exactly 7 a.m. Vivian opened the door, wearing a silk nightgown, eyes barely open. "Are you insane? It's 7 in the morning." I held up my phone. On the screen was a text from her dad. "Miss Sterling, your father says the early bird gets the worm. Starting today, you will begin each morning with a 2-mile run followed by memorizing 50 GRE vocabulary words. And your iced Americano is being replaced with a kale smoothie." She nearly slammed the door in my face. "Get out! I'm not doing it!" I calmly opened my mobile banking app and showed her the account balance screen. "Are you sure?" Her eyes widened as she watched the status switch to frozen. Finally, she ground out 2 words through clenched teeth. "I'll run." And so, a bizarre spectacle appeared on the university athletic track. The campus queen, decked out in a Chanel tracksuit and limited edition Nikes, panting as she ran. Behind her, I followed at a leisurely pace on a Lime scooter, holding a small megaphone. "Pick up the pace. Pump your arms. Control your breathing. That's it. Just think about that $20,000 handbag. It's waiting for you at the finish line." Passing students stared. Completely baffled, someone secretly snapped a picture and posted it on Fizz. Breaking. Billionaire's daughter Vivian Sterling spotted doing military-style workout with Mystery Man. Another post followed. Is this some new kind of twisted relationship, or just how billionaires train their kids? I pointed like a drill sergeant. "Faster! Did you skip breakfast or something?" Vivian's makeup was starting to run. She glared back at me, panting. "Leo Evans, you just wait!" After the run, it was vocabulary time. In the library, Vivian slammed her GRE prep book on the table. "What's the point of these stupid words? I'm not even planning on going to grad school." I pulled out a small notebook and started doing some math. "Your dad says if you don't learn the words, this afternoon's spa appointment will be canceled, and tonight's dinner at the Michelin star restaurant will be downgraded to the dining hall's ramen bar." She deflated instantly, glaring at the word abandon as if it was her mortal enemy. I leaned in and whispered, "You know, there's a shortcut." Her eyes lit up. "Tell me. Call me daddy once and I'll help you with half of them." Vivian grabbed the heavy textbook and swung at my head. I dodged, laughing. "Hey, just a joke." Okay. How about this? You study hard, and when you're done, I'll approve the reinstatement of your Frappuccino fund. 3 a week. Her eyes darted back and forth. She actually agreed. Go figure. The way to a foodie's heart is through her stomach. After a few days of this, Vivian surprisingly started to get used to it, at least on the surface. That is, until her obnoxious suitor showed up. Chadwick Chad Vanderbilt III, son of the Vanderbilt real estate empire, pulled up to the university gates in his Ferrari. Blocking her path, Chad held a massive bouquet of roses, his voice slick with arrogance. "Vivi, baby, there's a party tonight. All our friends will be there. You have to come." Before Vivian could even respond, I stepped between them. Apologies, Mr. Vanderbilt, but Vivian has a calculus assignment to finish tonight. Chad frowned. And who are you? I held up a freshly printed business card. Leo Evans, specially appointed by Mr. Robert Sterling as Ms. Vivian Sterling's comprehensive development planner and consumption advisor. Chad scoffed. So, you're a glorified babysitter. Step aside. I'm talking to Vivian, not the help. I picked up my phone. Mr. Sterling, I have a Mr. Vanderbilt here inviting Vivian to an evening party that may involve alcohol and other unhealthy activities. Should I approve? Oh, you don't approve? Understood. I put the phone down and shrugged at Chad. Sorry. The boss said no. Chad's face turned ugly. Are you screwing with me? I nodded. Yep. Beside me, Vivian's shoulders were shaking as she tried not to laugh. Chad, furious and humiliated, jabbed a finger in my face. You just wait, you little punk! You think you can ride the Sterling's coattails to the top? You're nothing but a glorified servant. I calmly took out my phone, recorded a short video of his outburst, and sent it directly to Robert Sterling's assistant with a note. Subject appears to be threatening Miss Sterling's safety and interfering with my duties. Awaiting instructions. 3 minutes later, Chad's phone rang. He was absolutely reamed out by his father and left with his tail between his legs. Vivian looked at me, her expression complicated. You're pretty ruthless. I dusted off my hands. Standard operating procedure. By the way, you really do have calculus homework. I'll be supervising you tonight, Vivian. I thought that would be the end of it. But I should have known a guy like Chad wouldn't go down quietly. A few days later, gossip blogs exploded with posts about me. Leo Evans, community college grad drowning in debt. They questioned how I'd latched on to the Sterlings, called it a sinister plot, and hinted there was more to the story. Someone even published a fake tell-all from an ex-girlfriend, painting me as a mooch and a scheming social climber. Campus went nuts. Overnight, the way people looked at me completely changed. Vivian was furious. She wanted to post a rebuttal on Twitter, but I stopped her. What's the rush? I said calmly, scrolling through the posts. Let them have their fun for a little while longer. Are you crazy? They're destroying your reputation. I laughed. What reputation? I'm a nobody. You, on the other hand, are Sterling. Don't get dragged into this kind of trash. She froze, staring at me with a strange expression. You're not angry? Oh, I'm angry, I grinned. Which is why we need to find a more expensive way to feel better. I gathered screenshots and links to every defamatory post and sent them to Robert Sterling's corporate legal team with a short note. Boss, what do you think this is worth? 30 minutes later, Sterling Industries' legal department went to war. Cease and desist letters flooded inboxes across the internet. The accounts that started the rumors panicked, deleted their posts, and issued groveling apologies. Chad's father personally dragged him to the Sterling mansion to apologize. They even paid me a hefty sum for emotional distress. I waved the check in front of Vivian. See? Not only do you get satisfaction, you get revenue. Vivian just stared at me, speechless. You can do that? After that fiasco, things between us got easier. She even started listening to some of my money-saving tips, like using the Honey Browser extension to find coupon codes and listing her unworn designer clothes on Poshmark. I took the photos, wrote persuasive descriptions, and we sold half her closet. Then came her birthday. She asked cautiously if she could throw a party. The budget is $500,000, she said. I didn't even blink. Approved, she lit up. Really? Yes, I nodded, but we're doing it my way. On the day of the party, Vivian showed up in a stunning haute couture gown, stepping out of her Cullinan at the venue I'd booked, an all-you-can-eat Korean BBQ restaurant. I had rented out the entire place. The per-person cost? $139.99. Vivian and her wealthy friends just stood there, staring at the tables piled high with brisket and bulgogi, completely speechless. Leo, this is your idea of a party? Vivian was nearly in tears. I brought out the cake. What's wrong with it? Everyone gets enough to eat, it's not wasteful. Look, I blew up the balloons myself, hung the streamers and the music streaming from my phone. Then I handed her a check. The money we saved has been donated in your name to an inner-city youth program. That makes for a meaningful birthday. Her friends exchanged looks, stunned. Then one of them burst out laughing, and soon everyone was laughing, including Vivian, whose eyes sparkled as she snorted out a laugh. "You are unbelievable." That night, the billionaire's daughter and her friends had the time of their lives at a $139.99 Korean BBQ joint, grilling meat, singing off-key, and having more fun than they'd ever had at a stuffy gala. After the party, I drove Vivian home. She'd had a couple of beers, her cheeks were flushed. "Leo," she said suddenly, "you know, you're not so bad." I raised an eyebrow. "Just figuring that out now?" She looked down, her voice soft. "I used to think you were so annoying, always telling me what to do. But now, I think I kinda get it." I just smiled and kept driving. As she got out of the car, a cool breeze made her stumble. Instinctively, I reached out to steady her. She leaned into my shoulder on purpose. "Leo, yeah, that daddy thing? Is it too late to cash that in now?" I froze, looked down at her. Her eyes were sparkling with mischief. She was doing this on purpose. My heart skipped a beat, but I kept my voice steady. Now, princess. Dating is strictly off limits." She blushed and punched my arm lightly. "Sure." The air between us shifted, a little charged, until my phone rang. It was Robert Sterling's assistant. "Mr. Evans, Mr. Sterling would like to see you tomorrow morning. There's a new development regarding your employment." My stomach twisted. Promotion? Or termination? The next morning, I walked into Sterling Industries' headquarters. My leg wouldn't stop shaking. This was a place I'd never even dared to send my resume to. The assistant led me into an office bigger than my apartment. Robert Sterling stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows, looking out over the city. "Leo, you're here." My heart pounded. "Mr. Sterling, you wanted to see me?" "Sit." He gestured to the sofa. "I've been observing the changes in Vivian over the past few months." I tried to sound humble. "That's all Miss Sterling's doing. She's a good kid." He cut me off with a wave. "No need for false modesty. You've done an excellent job. Far more effective than any tutors or psychologists her mother and I have hired." Relief washed over me. This wasn't bad. "So," he said, handing me a folder, "I've decided to give you more responsibility." Inside was a new employment contract, special lifestyle assistant. The salary had so many zeros it made my eyes water. But the duties, along with supervising Vivian's finances and studies, I now had to accompany her to business and social events, vet and dissuade unsuitable contacts, with a special note, especially individuals like Chad Vanderbilt, and provide regular reports on her emotional state and social circle. It sounded like a bizarre mix of nanny, security guard, and corporate spy. "Mr. Sterling, this part about dissuading unsuitable contacts." I hesitated. He took a sip of tea. "Vivian is a naive girl. She's easily targeted by people with ulterior motives. You have a quick mind and unconventional methods. You're perfect for this job. If necessary, you are authorized to use unconventional means. Our legal department will clean up any messes." Holy crap! The billionaire just gave me a license to cause trouble. "With great power comes great responsibility," I muttered internally. Mr. Sterling's gaze sharpened. "If I find out you're using this position for personal gain, or if you develop any inappropriate ideas about Vivian..." A chill shot down my spine. I straightened immediately. "Mr. Sterling, you have my word. I will remain professional. I'll eliminate every destabilizing element from Miss Sterling's life. And as for inappropriate ideas, absolutely not. I've always seen her as a daughter." He almost choked on his tea. "All right, that's enough. Get to work. Vivian has an art gallery opening this afternoon. You'll accompany her." I floated out of that office, contract in hand. With this salary, I could pay off all my loans in a year and still afford a condo down payment. High risk, high reward. That afternoon, I picked up Vivian for the gala. She wore a simple, elegant dress, less spoiled princess, more sophisticated young woman. I stared a second too long. "What?" she said, rolling her eyes. "Never seen a beautiful woman before?" I snapped back into watchdog mode. "Is your homework done? Finals are next week. Leo, can you please not be a buzzkill for 5 minutes?" The gallery was full of socialites. Vivian was quickly pulled away by her friends to admire abstract paintings I couldn't even interpret. I hung back, scanning the crowd for trouble. Sure enough, trouble arrived. A guy in a flashy pink blazer, hair gelled back, Slid up to Vivian with champagne. "Miss Sterling, it's been too long," he purred. "This Jackson Pollock, wild and untamed, just like your spirit." I rolled my eyes. "Pollock? You look more like a joke." I snapped a covert photo and sent it to Mr. Sterling's assistant. "Run a background check." 2 minutes later, the report came back. Heir to a small construction company, family in financial trouble. Notorious playboy dating 3 Instagram models. Unsuitable. Dissuade. I walked over, straightened my tie. "Vivian, who's your friend?" Pink Blazer frowned. "And you are?" I smiled politely. "Leo Evans, personally hired by Robert Sterling as Vivian's lifestyle and development advisor. My role is to filter out unproductive and harmful social interactions. What's your family's core business? Mind sharing your quarterly earnings report? Any legal disputes I should know about?" He went pale. Vivian pinched her thigh to keep from laughing. I kept going. "Judging by your complexion, you were out late last night. At least 3 bars? Your liver could use a break. Maybe pick up a book. That way you'll have more to say to a girl than just telling her she's pretty." Pink Blazer practically ran away. Vivian's friends stared at me. "Awestruck! Vivi," one of them whispered. "Your advisor is intense." Vivian cleared her throat and said casually, "Oh, him? Yeah, my daddy hired him. He's a professional fixer, specializes in getting rid of clingers and creeps." Was that pride in her voice? On the way home, she kept watching me from the passenger seat. "Is there something on my face?" I asked, unnerved. "Leo, you're actually starting to act like someone my dad would hire." My heart skipped. "What do you mean?" "I always have. Before, I just thought you were some loser who got lucky. But now," she paused, "I think you might actually be good at this. And you're kind of interesting." "Thanks," I said. "Guess I'm an interesting loser." She laughed, then leaned closer. "Hey, be honest. Did my dad tell you to dissuade every guy who talks to me?" Her perfume was intoxicating. My face heated up. "That is one of my professional responsibilities," I said stiffly. "Does that include yourself?" she asked, her eyes wide. My heart thudded. She was testing me. I put on my strictest expression. "Miss Sterling, I am your advisor, not your suitor. Say one more thing like that and I'll cut your allowance for a month." Vivian blinked, stunned, then puffed out her cheeks and slumped back. "Fine. Cut it. You're a boring old man. No wonder you're single." She turned to stare out the window. I let out a shaky breath. My palms were sweating. This job was getting more complicated by the day. I wasn't just fending off wolves on the outside anymore. I had to deal with the princess in the castle, trying to stage a coup. This billionaire's salary was definitely hard-earned. Finals week arrived, and my job as a supervisor went into overdrive. The library became our battleground. Vivian sighed dramatically over her calculus textbook, her eyes filled with the kind of despair usually reserved for tragic heroines. "Leo, I don't get this problem. Leo, I feel dizzy. I think I have low blood sugar. I need a piece of chocolate for energy. Leo, can we please take a break? Just 10 minutes. I need to scroll through Instagram." I stayed completely impassive, tapping a pen against the table like a metronome of doom. "Miss Sterling, focus. If you can't solve this integration problem, you'll have to wear last year's dress to the charity gala next week." That was her kryptonite. She let out a pained groan and slumped back over her notes. Watching her struggle, a small, dark part of me was actually enjoying this. So this is what it felt like to be a dad. It was kind of a power trip. To motivate her, I even created a study points chart and taped it to her bedroom wall. Completing a task earned her points, which could be exchanged for privileges like a frappuccino or an hour of video game time. Failure to complete tasks resulted in deductions. Vivian became obsessed with earning points. When her friends called to invite her shopping or to the spa, she would tearfully decline. "I can't. My tutor Leo won't let me." "I'm almost out of points," her friend shrieked through the phone. "Vivi, are you being punished?" I took the phone from her. "Miss Miller, I heard you failed 2 of your midterms last month," I said calmly. "Would you like me to create a study plan for you as well?" The line went dead. Vivian gave me a thumbs up. "You're a monster." The exams finally ended. Vivian looked like she had been through a war, but when her grades came back, she had passed everything. She even got a C in calculus, which for her was a monumental achievement. She held the transcript, her hands trembling. The first thing she did was take a picture and send it to her dad. Then she turned to me, beaming. "Leo, I did it. I didn't fail anything. Quick, give me 100 points. I want to redeem them for a 3-day vacation. I'm going to the beach. I'm buying a new bikini." I pulled out my phone and tapped on a calculator app. Congratulations. However, according to Article 27 of the Vivian Sterling Daily Conduct and Performance Guidelines, significant academic improvement is rewarded with 50 points. Your current point total is 65. A 3-day vacation requires 90 points, and the budget for a new designer bikini requires 25 points. "You have insufficient funds, Vivian." She lunged for my phone. "I don't care. I'm going." "Give me an advance." I dodged her easily. "No credit." However, you could choose to complete a few bonus tasks to earn points quickly. "What kind of tasks?" she asked, narrowing her eyes suspiciously. "For example, personally making your father a cup of tea earns you 10 points. Hand-washing your own lingerie earns you 15 points. Successfully haggling at the local farmer's market, regardless of the outcome, earns you 20 points. Vivian's face twisted in horror, as if I had just described a series of medieval tortures. But in the end, her desire for a beach vacation and a new bikini won out. That evening, Robert Sterling received a cup of tea personally brewed by his daughter. It tasted a little strange. The billionaire looked at his daughter's awkward but expectant face, then at me, standing beside her with an expression that said, "She's learning." His own expression was very complicated. Vivian's real-world training program was in full swing. The farmer's market haggling task was next. Dressed in a Chanel blazer and heels, she stood in front of a vegetable stand surrounded by the smell of fresh produce and dirt. She picked up a cucumber. "Ma'am, could you give me a better price?" "How about 2 for 3? She asked the woman running the stall. The woman looked her up and down, her eyes lingering on Vivian's designer handbag. "Honey, your outfit is worth more than my entire week's earnings, and you're trying to haggle with me over 50 cents? Well, that's different. This is a matter of principle." Vivian's face was beet red. In the end, under the woman's pitying gaze, the kind you give a beautiful person who seems to have a few screws loose, Vivian bought 2 cucumbers at full price and successfully earned 20 points. She held up the cucumbers like a trophy. "Leo, look, I bought them," she said, a strange excitement in her voice. I held back a laugh and recorded her points. "Excellent progress. Next time, we'll try haggling for meat." The night of the charity gala arrived. Vivian used her points to redeem a dress that wasn't the most expensive, but was still breathtaking. She was excited to make her grand entrance. An event like this was a breeding ground for unsuitable social contacts. I was on high alert, dressed in a sharp suit, staying close to her under the guise of my official Lifestyle and Development Advisor title. Sure enough, we were ambushed by Chad Vanderbilt almost as soon as we walked in. He had learned his lesson and didn't approach Vivian directly. Instead, he came straight for me, a glass of whiskey in his hand. "Well, well, Evans, look at you all cleaned up." He sneered, his voice dripping with condescension. "How does it feel being the Sterling's little pet?" I smiled. "It's great. The benefits are amazing. The pay is good, and I get to help clean up the trash. How's your family's business, by the way, Chad? I heard you lost the bid on that big downtown development project." The color drained from his face. I twisted the knife. "Oh, and by the way, you valet parked your dad's car, right? I saw you get out trying to save a few bucks. Doesn't really fit your image, does it?" Chad's hand was shaking with rage. He was about to spill his drink when Vivian gently tugged on my sleeve. "Leo, that's enough." "There are a lot of people here," she whispered. I nodded and raised my glass to Chad. "Enjoy your evening, Vanderbilt. We have to go." As we turned away, I heard him mutter through clenched teeth, "You just wait." Halfway through the gala, Vivian was chatting with a group of other wealthy young women. I stood at a respectable distance, my eyes constantly scanning the room like a radar system. Suddenly, I saw a familiar figure. Pink blazer. He had managed to get into this event, too. He was talking to a portly older businessman, but his eyes kept darting over to Vivian. Something was wrong. I moved closer, pretending to admire a nearby sculpture and caught snippets of their conversation. "Don't worry, Mr. Chun. I have a way of getting close to Miss Sterling. That new Sterling Industries project, a few details, My blood ran cold. This guy wasn't just a sleazy playboy. He was trying to use Vivian to get corporate intel. This was way beyond unsuitable social contact. This was corporate espionage. He needed to be dissuaded permanently. I quickly found a quiet corner and pulled out my phone. This time, I didn't call the assistant. I called Robert Sterling directly and explained the situation in a few brief sentences. Mr. Sterling was silent for 2 seconds, then said, "I'll handle it." 3 minutes later, the event's host walked briskly over to Pink Blazer and Mr. Chun. He whispered something to them. Their faces changed instantly. Pink Blazer, in particular, looked like he'd seen a ghost. He was practically frog-marched out of the ballroom by security. The whole thing happened so quietly and efficiently that it went completely unnoticed. Vivian didn't even see it happen. I let out a sigh of relief. Once again, I was in awe of the power a man like Robert Sterling wielded, and acutely aware of the dangers of my job. I had almost let a very poisonous snake slip through the cracks. At the end of the night, I was driving Vivian home. She seemed tired and was quietly watching the city lights go by. As we neared her mansion, she spoke softly. "Leo, thank you for tonight. It's my job." "Not just for tonight," I said, turning to look at her. "For the exams and for the farmer's market." It was humiliating, but it was also kind of fun. I was surprised. Is the great Vivian Sterling finally appreciating the simple pleasures of us common folk? "Oh, shut up," she said with a laugh, then fell silent for a moment. "It's just, I feel like I've spent my whole life in a glass bubble. Everyone I met, everything I did, it all felt distant, like I was watching a movie. But since you showed up, it's like you threw a rock and cracked the glass." My heart started beating a little faster again. "So you're saying I have a thick skull?" "I'm saying you're an annoying, incredibly useful pain in the ass." She huffed, turning away, but I could see that the tips of her ears were red. The atmosphere in the car became charged again. I started mentally chanting, "She's your responsibility. She's your responsibility. She's your responsibility." A responsibility who was starting to feel less and less like a kid. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Robert Sterling. "Good work tonight. Come to the office tomorrow." It was a new situation. A new situation. My nerves, which had just started to relax, tensed up all over again. This high-paying job really didn't give you a moment to rest. The new situation Robert Sterling had in mind was beyond anything I could have imagined. In his office, he got straight to the point. "Leo, over the past few months, you've proven yourself. You haven't just reined in Vivian's spending. You've helped her see people for who they really are, and you've even indirectly helped us avoid some business complications." I held my breath, waiting for what was next. "Your contract is about to expire. I have a new proposal," he said, his gaze intense. "Vivian mentioned you've always wanted to start your own business. I had my team look at the business plan you drafted a while back. It's interesting. Sterling Industries would like to be your angel investor." My brain short-circuited. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The richest man in California wanted to invest in my little pipe dream startup. "Mr. Sterling, is that appropriate?" "Why wouldn't it be?" he said with a smile. "Any man who can take my handbag-obsessed daughter and get her to think about cost-benefit analysis and point redemption systems is a man I trust to manage a budget and get things done. That's more persuasive than any fancy PowerPoint presentation I've ever seen." I was completely stunned. This was a quantum leap I had never dreamed was possible. I left his office in a daze, clutching the signed investment agreement. Starting a company was a whirlwind of activity. I was so busy, I barely had time to breathe. When Vivian found out, she had a bigger reaction than I did. "What? You're starting a company and my dad is investing in it?" she said, her eyes wide. She put her hands on her hips. "Well, what about me? What happens now that my watchdog has run off?" I had to laugh. "Your Highness, my contract is up. And besides, you've gotten pretty good at managing yourself lately." "It's not the same," she mumbled. Then her eyes lit up with an idea. "Hey, is your company hiring? The CFO position sounds like a good fit for me." "Don't be ridiculous. You're a billionaire's daughter. Just enjoy it. Who's being ridiculous?" She shot back. "I'm a business major, you know. And besides, I'm the one person who knows how to deal with a cheap skate boss like you." In the end, I couldn't say no to her. Or rather, her father wouldn't let me. Robert Sterling seemed to find the whole thing highly amusing. And so, my fledgling startup gained a new employee, a well-connected, hot-tempered, and very intimidating legacy hire for a chief financial officer, Vivian Sterling. It was a nightmare. I used to be the one denying her shopping requests. Now she was the one denying my expense reports. Mr. Evans, this client dinner exceeds the per-person budget by 50%. Deny. Mr. Evans, why did you buy imported ficus trees for the office? Do local plants not photosynthesize? Mr. Evans, you can fly economy on your business trip. We can use the money we saved to buy the programmer's extra Red Bull. I stared at my rejected expense report, my head throbbing. Vivian, this is just petty revenge. She leaned back in her chair, twirling a pen, a sly grin on her face. Mr. Evans, please be mindful of your tone when addressing your chief financial officer. I'm just following the principles you taught me: humility, practicality, and getting the best value for our money. Karma had come for me, and it was driving a pink Rolls-Royce. Under the joint management of a penny-pinching CEO and a CFO who learned from the best, my company somehow managed to operate on a shoestring budget. And because our execution was sharp and our cost control was ruthless, we became profitable in record time, securing our next round of funding. Through countless battles over budgets and expense reports, my relationship with Vivian became something else. We fought constantly, but we also worked together with a strange, unspoken synergy. One night, after a party celebrating our latest success, I was driving her home. The car was parked in front of her mansion, but she didn't get out right away. Leo, she said, her voice soft in the quiet car. Her eyes were bright in the darkness. I'm not the person you have to supervise anymore, and you're not my watchdog. My heart stuttered. Right, so... She took a deep breath. Can you answer my question now? Does your job as a fixer still include getting rid of yourself? I looked into her eyes. There was no trace of the spoiled princess or the playful tease. She was just looking at me, earnest and a little nervous. Game over. The dad act had crumbled. I heard my own voice sounding a little shaky. The rules are made to be broken. For this particular unsuitable contact, I think I can make an exception. Her eyes lit up as if they had just been filled with stars. Everything after that just fell into place. At our wedding, the officiant asked the traditional question, who will be in charge of the finances in this marriage? Vivian and I looked at each other, and at the exact same moment, both of us raised our hands. The guests were silent for a second. Then the room erupted in laughter. Our friends who knew the whole story were practically crying with laughter. The officiant was completely bewildered. I'm sorry. What's happening? I took the microphone, looking at my new wife with a mixture of exasperation and adoration. It's just force of habit, I explained. She handles the approvals. I submit the requests. You can't mess with the workflow. Vivian snatched the microphone from me, grinning triumphantly. That's right, and you'd better remember it. Mr. CEO, from now on, I expect your personal allowance request to be filed with detailed justifications. In the front row, Robert Sterling was laughing the loudest of all.